Welcome back. This is Daybreak, and thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. John Kiarie is the lawmaker representing Dagoretti South constituency. Gladys Bose was Singishu County Woman MP, as well as the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. Robert Mbui is the lawmaker representing Kadhiani constituency. And this morning we are also joined by Senator Richard Onyonka, who represents the county of Kisii at the Senate. Lady and gentlemen, thanks for staying with us. Coming to you, Honorable Robert Mbui, given what we had witnessed in the country in the last days of 2024 and into 2025, why do you think there has been slow response on the required answers on the abductions that have been happening in the country?
First, Ayub, allow me to just say that politicians have to start accepting blame. You know, there's a lot of mistakes that we as politicians make. And even on the show, I've just seen that instead of saying that, yes, we and some of our colleagues are wrong, we've evaded that answer completely, to the point we've gone to doctors. I don't know, doctors are making mistakes, teachers are making mistakes. Yet this was not about doctors and teachers and others. It was about the political class. And that's what we are discussing today. And I think it's very difficult for us to accept that our colleagues are wrong. And I think it's important. That's where we fail. And in fact, you notice this, that this is a government that is full of politicians, unlike the Constitution, which was trying to kick out politicians from running, the executive. Suddenly, everybody in the executive is actually a politician. You've noticed that unlike Uhuru's cabinet, this cabinet is almost 100% made up of people that are drawn from political offices, former members of parliament, former senators, and former governors. That's a kind of people that are now in office. So it's actually a politicized, highly politicized, government. In fact, even the public service now, the PSs, a number of them are actually former members of parliament. So what is happening is that we've politicized everything, and then we are refusing to accept blame as politicians. That's why when our youth criticize and say there are things that we are doing wrong, no one wants to listen to them. I remember last year, just before the youth of Aren Parliament, I was I was one of those that were clearly telling, the House that what happens when this what we are pushing down their throats goes beyond what they can accept. You know that when we drop that last straw that breaks the camel's back, what happens? When these children get to the streets, what will we do? Previously, when we were in the streets as Azimio, you could call Raila Amolo Odinga, you could call Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka and tell them, please let us negotiate. But the youth told us they are leaderless, they are tribeless, they are almost formless. And they demonstrated it because they managed to get to the House. So I think what I'm seeing is a situation where we as politicians must accept that there are some areas where we are going wrong. And that's why this conversation is, when you started it with politicians' comments. And that's what we must deal with. What are the things that we can be told? How do we handle each other? How do we sort ourselves out? Now, Ayub, I'll tell you that...
how then do we sort out problems, Honorable Mbui? Let me finish. Because it's a proper question when that comes up and we are discussing the lives of Kenyans. How then do we sort this problem when senior membership of the Wiper Party that you subscribe to have said they will cozy up to Rigathi Gachagua, the former deputy president, who has described Kenya as a shareholding entity?
They will do what?
Cozy up. I mean, they're warming up to Gachagua.
No, but our position on the issue of Rigathi Gachagua was the issue of impeachment. We were against the impeachment because look at what it has done to the country. Already it destabilized. Some members of parliament from central Kenya, very many of them cannot even go to their own constituencies. We could see that it was going to be a big rift. Let me tell you this, Ayub.
That's not the point, Honorable Mbui, and to hold you to account, because when we talk about lives, I mean, Senator Manzo was here last week on Thursday, told my colleague Trevor that they will seek a political rapprochement with the former deputy president. Yet he clearly made statements that are in contrast with our constitution when it comes to national unity and symbols of national unity and offices that state officials hold.
In fact, let me ask you this, because I'm surprised we are talking about Rigiji. Rigiji was impeached. And if I know the law well, it means that he's no longer able to politically hold public office. So then how is it that we are going to be...
Why then is your party warming up to a man who...
We are warming up to Mount Kenya, not to one individual.
I mean, that's what your party said.
That is what we are doing.
That's what members of your party are saying.
Members of my party are allowed to also be friends. I don't know whether you're saying that Rigiji, by being impeached, it means he can no longer have friends. He has friends within the party. He's also my friend. He was my friend even when he was deputy president, even when he was wrong. So I think when it comes to political matters, he is no longer able to participate because he is no longer able to be elected. He can hold public office. So having him as a friend is not a negative to us. We will respect him. We also have friends with Ferdinand Waititu, who was also impeached. And there is nothing wrong with having friends like that. So having those friends doesn't make Wiper, wrong. But politically, Wiper has its chart that we are forming. Okay. And really having these people as friends is not a problem at all, in my opinion.
All right.
But what I'm saying is... But
it denies you some more authority. Okay. Because just what you're condemning against certain liaisons on the other side of government is exactly what you're warming up to.
I will say this.
So it denies you some moral authority to castigate anything.
When Rigathi Gachagua was deputy president, I was very categorical that he was wrong. I still believe he was wrong when he said that the country, only shareholders should be able to benefit from the government. And I've never changed that opinion. Okay. I still believe he was wrong on that.
Okay, just hold on that.
And I've not changed that. Okay. So I would like to understand which part of my comment has made...
Yes, it's on the languaging. We talked about the languages of politics, including you four members of the bicameral parliament, and the accountability question. Yes. Because you were given the mandate by the Kenyan people, and therefore they expect the best out of you. Honorable Gladys, coming to you. Why do you think that...
you've passed me.
I'll come to you, Honorable Nyonka. Order. She's the only lady on the panel. Why do you think, Honorable Gladys, that the response to matter concerning the lives of Kenyans, the abductions that have been happening, appears to be slow in terms of the sluggish nature of the answers to this very complex problem?
Yes. I think I'm glad you've asked me that question. I have been closely following the case that has been before Justice Bahati, where the Kenya National Human Rights Commission, together with Law Society, have went to court asking for a habeas corpus orders, which is asking for production of certain persons, directed at the IG and other state agencies. And during that time, they were saying that 7 persons were missing. And what happened is, the IG at that time said, give me time to take statements, because when you make a missing persons report, statements are then taken, the phone number of the person is taken, the Facebook accounts and all are investigated. You might have to speak to the phone operator companies to help you in those investigations. And that's what the IG asked. And since then, 6 out of the 7 missing persons have been found. And when the last court case, the IG said, these 6 who have now shown up did not come out of police custody, because he had said they're not in my custody anywhere in any police station. He then said, I want the family members to come and give us information so that we can commence investigations. The 6 out of the 7 have been found. The last court hearing, the IG asked the court, now, in order for us to investigate where these people were and where they were being held, I need them to come and file reports with us. They have not filed those reports. So the IG said, should I arrest them? He asked the court, can I arrest them so that they can come and give me the information of where they were? The court told the IG, don't arrest them, but the court directed the Kenya National Human Rights Commission to ensure that those people go to them as a commission, record statements, and then accompany them to the DCI to take statements on where they were, who was holding them, and the conditions under which they were held and abducted. We are waiting for that to happen. That's why I'm saying, let's be very careful about the speculation. Because remember that Kenya, every day, across the world, people routinely give reports of missing persons, record reports of missing persons. When they do, the investigations then commence at that stage. So what we have said is, yes, Kenyans are entitled to report missing persons, and Kenyans are entitled to ensure that, I mean, are entitled to demand that the investigations must be done. And what we say is that the reports of those investigations, the IG must give it to Kenyans. And we're waiting for that. That's why I'm saying I do not want to speculate. For example, for example, let me just finish on this point because it's very important. I know that the Cabinet Secretary, Justin Muturi, has mentioned in his statement that his son was abducted. What we then need, the correct thing to do, is for his son to go to the police station now that he has been found.
He did so.
To go and say who abducted him and etc. Yeah. And that is what should now be the issue that should be discussed in the proceedings. So it is important that we, as Kenyans, we try and follow things in a logical manner.
All right.
And be able,
let me hold
so that we don't make it look like when a person is missing, they have not been automatically abducted by the police. They are missing until investigations are done to find out, is it the police that abducted them, or is it, maybe even the person had a debt with somebody and then you're picked up. Well, I mean, the person catch it.
Clearly that is...
But I'm just saying is that we cannot always default that it's the police. But what the police must do is undertake investigations. That's why we are appealing. I sympathize with Kenyans who say they have reported missing persons. But what we are asking them also, it is their responsibility to go to the police station and say, this is the Facebook account, these are the best friends of the person, this is where they routinely hang out, these are the people they associate with, so that it can help with investigations. Yes.
So just on a factual point, Bernard Kavuli recorded a statement with the authorities, so did the gentleman who went missing from Embu County, so as Leslie Muturi in June 2024.
Yes.
That's just on a factual note, because you said that they have to record statements to the authorities. But they did, and investigations are underway. Nonetheless, though, you said the police are investigating. Who, in your view, then, do you think is undertaking all this?
I don't speculate. I don't know. Until investigations tell us, then we will know. And each is a case-by-case basis.
Are you bothered by what's happening in our country?
What is happening in our country?
The abductions of including foreigners.
You know, that's why, Ayub, you must remember something. I will not come here to speculate or to cast aspersions. My issue is I'm looking at it on a case-by-case basis. That's why I'm giving you the 7 people who are reported missing by LSK and the Kenya National Human Rights. I have been following up that matter because I wanted to know what is it that people are discussing, so that I don't come to speculate.
People are discussing abductions, Madam Speaker.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's why I was following up the court case.
Yes.
Because there was 7 abductions that were reported in that particular court case. 6 of them have already been 6 of them have already been found. And now we are waiting. The court has ordered that they must record statements of where they were. When that report comes to court, I will come back on this television station and I will tell you this is what has been reported to the court, so that I'm not speculating. And each missing person you deal with on a case-by-case basis.
And here is one final question. I'll go to Senator Onyonka next. As then the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, because it's so a privileged position to hold, Madam Speaker, aren't you bothered when Kenyans are abducted using unmarked vehicles, people who don't identify themselves, for a country that has prided itself among the community of nations as a safe haven, even for foreigners, leave alone Kenyans? I mean, doesn't that bother you as the Deputy Speaker of an arm of government that is so influential in our constitutional arrangement?
Okay, so first of all, I just want to correct you. When I'm sitting here, I'm not sitting here as Deputy Speaker. I'm here as a politician. I'm here as a politician. And I'm also here as an individual member of this country and as a member of Uasin Gishu County. When I am presiding over the House, that is when I'm Deputy Speaker. At the moment, it's how I conduct myself during the proceedings. So I think you trying to pull that and so on. And then I'm not saying that I'm not bothered by the abductions. I am bothered by the abductions to the extent that I am closely following up the court case.
Okay, and so
yes, I am following. Yes,
away from your title.
No. I'm just saying. What has me being Deputy Speaker got to do with something that I'm doing as a political leader in this country? Yes, but I'm just telling you, I am responsible enough because I don't think you have been following those proceedings that have been before Justice Nambwe.
I did.
I am following it. I'm following it closely.
Yeah.
Every time the matter is in court, I go online and listen to it because I am curious to understand where all this is coming from. And I'm curious to see the response of the IG. And like I said, I will know the update when these 6 people who have been found now report so that they say where they were. But then you cannot tell me there's abductions and marked vehicles. You see, those are your... that is your... No, I'm just saying that's your knowledge. Yeah. I want to see the statements.
It's public knowledge as well.
No, that is what is being said in the public. But what I want to know is from these 6 people, where they were, they'll tell us whether it was unmarked vehicles, who picked them up, and so on. Then I can comment on it. But you can't tell me to speculate on something. Surely, I think it's unfair.
Okay, so fair enough.
And if you know that that is happening, we also expect you to go and report to the police station. Okay,
we report to the public, not to the police stations.
Thank you.
So I'll come to politician Honorable Gladys Boss in a short while.
Ayub, I'm utterly shocked and mesmerized at what Her Excellency is saying. She sounds like she came from Europe today. All right? This narrative that in our country we are trying to normalize the abnormalities, the fact that a cabinet minister in her government, my government, who has come out publicly and talked about how his son was abducted. And indeed, I want to tell you, Madam Sholei, Deputy Speaker, actually Justin Mutuli talked to me about the abductions himself. And there's more detail I have that I can't disclose here. There is more I know that I can't say here.
See, which I don't.
The people who he talked to and what they told him, the conversation is mind-blowing. All right? After this incident of Justin Muturi, I was so incredibly happy that my party leader, Raila Odinga, pronounced himself and said, stop this nonsense of abducting Kenyans. And Madam Sholei, then what does she do? She was there when our president, William Ruto, said, I will stop the... So this narrative that she's trying to create, that, you know, these are people we don't know. They are wearing balaclavas, and in fact, they are having these cars. And in fact,
didn't say that.
Just let me finish what I'm saying.
But I did not say that.
And in fact, where we are, there are 6 guys who've been found. Madam Sholei, we are a country that believes in the rule of law.
That's why we are in court.
Just hold on, Mama. Please hold on, Your Excellency. We are not here to discuss the methods used and whether they were legitimate or not. What we are saying is what is happening is against the law of the land. It's unconstitutional to pick anybody and keep them beyond a certain limit of time because the constitution that we have been swearing to expects me as a leader. So when you are telling me that as a deputy speaker, that you cannot pronounce on this matter because when you are a deputy speaker, you are somebody who's different. And in fact, these people, the parents should go and give these reports on missing persons. Deputy Speaker, Madam Sholei, these people are not missing. They are being abducted. They are being taken from their homes. There are CCTV cameras. The cars that are picking them are known. They are government cars. Everybody knows that kids have been killed. People are being killed and thrown into mortuaries and picked from there. How you make me feel that actually we are in a country where there's a group of people who completely would rather have everybody in this country killed because they criticize the government, because of their interest, because this country is larger than any of us. This country has reached a stage, if this nonsense doesn't stop, Ayub, they'll come for you here next. After that, they'll come for me. After they finish with me, they'll go to Mui. Finally, they'll come to you. Because what they want you to do, you will not agree. So what we are saying, let us just save this country. Forget about the shenanigans. You are in government. We are not in. I have said severally, Ayub, I don't hate President Ruto. I want him to succeed. I respect him. He's my president. The guy is so bright. Why is it difficult to run this country?
You know, Ayub, what's happening? He's playing to the gallery.
When we are talking about the people who are on this page, the people you work with are the ones who show who your friends are, and they're the ones who tell Kenyans what your government is.
Yes, Honorable J. Kerry.
Brilliant. We have a great example of what we started out the show about, where we can be very thin on facts, very thin on objectivity and very generous with our sensationalization and our play to the gallery. The issue of abductions, you started out by telling us, is a very complex issue. And indeed it is. Take the example that has been given by the Deputy Speaker, Honorable Gladys Sholay. She has given us a chronological narration of actual cases, 7 of them, that have appeared before a court of justice, and it has come out. It is the truth that 6 out of those 7 people were not even in police custody. So yes, it is a complex matter. It has everything to do with the security of this nation. And when you unpack the issue of the security of this nation, you will see that even government itself would be at pains to even explain some of these things, which is unfortunate. Today, we cannot imagine that criminals are sitting on their laurels as the world advances. Technology is advancing. Criminality, in its sense, in itself, it's also advancing. So are we asking ourselves, how well equipped is the Kenyan police to even be able to attend to some of these issues? We have legislators seated here. Every single year, they do the business of allocating resources to these departments, to these institutions. How well are we doing ourselves as legislators in ensuring the security in this country?
Okay, and as you go to the next point, then, as you go to the next point, then do you seek, I know you chair another whole committee altogether, the ICT committee, but do you seek as a member of parliament then to move to the House and seek answers from the Inspector General?
We
spoke with him in December. He doesn't know.
Definitely.
You talked about...
I wouldn't talk for anybody else, but I can tell you on record, the Honorable Gladys Sholay is on record on the floor of the House, actually seeking for information about these abductions. I myself, not even on a substantial issue on abductions, have taken up this issue in the right place in Parliament so that we are able to do our role, not only of resourcing security in this country, but also of oversight. And that's why we all need to own up to what we can do in our areas of jurisdiction. But most importantly...
But Honorable Kerry, as you move on to the next point still, the point is then we have accustomed to the tradition of calling Parliament for special sessions because you're on recess at the moment until 15th of January. For example, for special sessions to vet members of appointments made by the President. We had seen that happen when we transitioned from Rigathi Gachagua to Professor Abraham Kithure Kindiki. Why doesn't the House consider this as an urgent matter because of the catalogue of human rights violations, call for special sitting, summon the Inspector General and seek answers for the Kenyan people?
Great question, Ayub. Why it is not being called is because this Parliament has applied itself extensively on the issue of abductions, up to and even adjourning business to discuss these issues. When they were, when nobody could put in sense to what was happening, the Parliament on occasion just stopped their business and went into 0 hour. And it was brought up as a substantive motion. And the results out of it...
And it has even been marked to the committee.
Yes.
And then also you must remember, the reason why we have independent commissions in Kenya is under the Constitution, Chapter 15, is to make sure that we have independent commissions that can check government. That is why you see the Kenya National Human Rights Commission has gone to court to demand that the AIG must say where these Kenyans are. And that process is ongoing. That's what I'm saying. The way to get to the bottom of this issue of abductions is to actually make sure that we go through a proper investigation so that we know. So that if it is found that it is, there is rogue police officers that are doing this, we shall get to know and bring them to book and put a stop to it. If it is, it's by individuals, again, get to the bottom of it and bring it to book. It is important that we get to the bottom of it. And that's why I'm saying I am concerned sufficiently about these abductions that I am actually watching brief over that case.
Okay. And to your question, yes, Parliament has done a lot, sumoto, on its own motion, unprompted, on the issues of abduction. And the outcome of it includes some of the things that you're seeing in courts, where Parliament is asking, is every arm doing what it needs to do? But most importantly, we should also ask ourselves, is Kenya as a country doing anything towards such abhorrent security situation. And think about it. We've got to give credit where it's due. When the president was sworn in, and actually before that, the president did commit himself on the issue of abductions, disappearances, killings, and the later appearance of bodies. And I would remember in the last administration, there were cases upon cases of bodies being discovered in rivers, the River Yala issues, the River Tana issues, and so on and so forth. The head of state, observing such a situation, then a candidate, committed himself to a number of things, which he did. The president said in his campaigns that the moment I put my Bible down, my first order of business shall be to disintegrate the police force from the presidency. And let me tell you, it is such a bold move by anybody sitting in State House to not wish to have the police at their beck and call. And what did the president do? The first order of business when he was sworn in as president is that he made steps towards the independence of the police as an entity, whereby the police has traditionally, for 60 years, been under the beck and call of a president. This president is seeking for the independence of the police, the independence of judiciary, so that each and every single arm of government would be able to do what job it has been required to do. Because even these abductions that we talk about, did not start in this administration. There has been a history of a very dark history, even in the recent past, of abductions. And so there must be steps taken towards alleviating that
You talked about the delinking of the operations of the police from the presidency. But then how comes Kenyans were killed during the protests? And more than 60, according to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, more than 40 bodies were found in Kware here in the county of Nairobi, and their killings and abductions is still going on. So, I mean, still, there's no break from the past, is it?
It's not a denial that, that people died. The question here lies, is anything being done about it?
So the point I'm asking you is, why then, Honorable Kiari?
Would you allow me to say that that has nothing to do with the delinking?
I won't allow this to pass. How then did the delinking of the operations of police from the presidency to compromise their decision-making processes lead to the safety of Kenyans? I mean, it's a case of kicking the can down the road strategy. Nothing has changed. Kenyans were killed in the protests, 60, more than 60, according to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. There were 42 bodies of women who have been obliterated, literally some beheaded, found in Kware. The suspect has fled from police station. I mean, if the operations of the police have been allowed to do what they are under the Constitution, how then comes that the culture is still continuing under the current administration?
It's a good question, because it will be foolhardy to deny that there have been excesses uses of force by police. And it would even also be speculative to wonder what it would have been if this delinking of the police had not happened. Because we've had situations where Kenyans have gone to protest. The Honorable Onyonka and I were involved very intimately in what happened between 2007 and 2008. And I can tell you there is a great departure from even police operations in handling crowds and mobs. If you would compare what was happening in the ages of a police that is beholden to a presidency and what is happening today. But also, we cannot say that the police operations are ideal. They're not yet.
But also remember, we have the Independent Police Oversight Authority, IPOA, which has a mandate to investigate any police officer who has been used excessive use of force or has not followed the rule of law. There is also the Internal Affairs Department within the police force. So we have to use the structures that we have already designed to do their job.
Okay, I'll hold
but at no time has the government say that they condone the abductions.
Okay.
The president has been very clear that there will be no abductions under his government or under his supervision.
So what's happening in the country at the moment?
So what is happening at the abductions that we are hearing about, that is why we are going on with the investigations to know.
Okay, I'll come to you about
because it doesn't help me to just complain that there is abductions. I am taking my responsibility seriously enough to follow.
I wanted to end it.
And it doesn't help us all when there are abductions.
Would such an engagement
also work towards... There's a point of information.
Can I go to Mbui?
Yes, before Mbui...
He's so diplomatic that he's silent. No, order.
Let me borrow a minute from him.
No.
Let me borrow a minute.
His minute
is we want to hear
Mbui. Okay. From Mbui, 1 minute.
He must be rewarded for his discipline.
Thank you. It is parliamentary. I just wanted to add this information that, as my brother KJ is adding on to that, I would also like him to explain why we've had Turkish members, members of
The 4 Turkish nationals.
Yes, who were abducted. We have Bessie J, who's been abducted and taken to Uganda. I have Maria Serungi was being arrested the other day. And many other cases where internationally now, Kenya has become a state where individuals who could be running away from human rights violations from other countries are actually being abducted. I want him to explain to us, does he think the president knows that this is what is happening because it's borders on national security? And if the president doesn't know, what does he think the president needs to do?
Okay, I'll come to that point. Yes, Honorable Mbui.
Yeah,
thank you for being so disciplined.
Yeah, thank you. You know, this conversation, I think what I'm noticing here is that many of the comments coming from Kenya Kwanza team here is that we are refusing to take responsibility. I mean, yes, it's true. The president has said he's allowing the budget to go to the police force directly, or rather the police service directly. But you remember when we had demonstrations, the current DP, who was then CS Interior, he was very categorical. He said, you attempt to get to the streets, we'll deal with you. But then when people are shot, he also immediately says, you know, that was not me, that was not on me, that was the police. So you give police instructions, but when they do anything that is excessive, you run away from it. I mean, I've had members here, and I'm shocked when someone says we are sensationalizing the issue of abductions. But you know, you tell that and remember that, you know, some of our viewers are parents, relatives and friends of people who have been abducted and children, young children who have been killed. As we are talking, and the Deputy Speaker said, you know, there was, I think, 7 cases, 6 have been sorted out. From Mulolongo, which is now part of Mount Kenya South, there's 4 that are still missing up to now. So, I mean, the numbers, we are also reducing the numbers. The reality is that abductions are going on, and it's something that we need to address. You know, Deputy Speaker here says, you know, I'm not Deputy Speaker when I'm here, but, you know, that's what I think we need to deal with, because even before the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, she was Deputy Speaker, but spoke about it in a public function. Before and even afterwards, when she said, you know, the president gave us instructions, we did it. So you must always take responsibility for the office that you hold, whether in office or outside office. And I think that's really important. Now, when you talk about who is responsible for abductions, first and foremost, the state is responsible for the security of every Kenyan. Now, the people that have been abducted, if you look at their history, you notice they are very active on social media. 2, they are very critical of the government. And 3, they are tracked using their phones. Who has that power to do that? It's not the thugs in the streets of Nairobi. So this is basically state-sponsored, and I think the intention is to intimidate. And that's why even in the headline, you can see the kind of comments. The comments are... I'm talking about the comments.
It is easy to speak.
I'm talking about the comments that have been made.
Stick to the fact.
Allow me to hold it.
The fact is that the state does not have a monopoly on technology. For example, and we have
you know, you can pick one point and run around with it, but allow me
even crime is getting very sophisticated by the day.
Allow me to prosecute my case, and you can be patient like I was and talk when you get your chance. So, but the real issue is that this is state-sponsored. These people have certain things in common. I have just talked about it. They are critical of the system. They are critical of the government. Yes.
26th of December last year, the IG, we spoke with him. My colleague Seth Olale got hold of him. He said he does not know what's happening. How do you prove that it's the state behind this abduction?
Let me tell you one of the things we noticed, the kind of dressing, the kind of vehicles. During the demonstrations of the Gen Z, the same people actually drove into Parliament. I'm sure if they were there in the parking, they would have seen them. People that were dressed in those balaclavas have covered their heads. And I asked actually the security, how do you let these people in? So apparently, because of course we are also manned by National Police Service and other state departments, they know each other. So these are not strangers. These are people that are. And why is it that like now they arrested this lady, abducted this lady? Was it a day or 2 ago? And after social media went awash with it, and it hit international media. Immediately 4 or 5 hours later, the person is released. It is clearly the state-sponsored, in my opinion. And I think the problem is the state side doesn't want to be criticized, unfortunately. And let me tell you, I'll give you an example of how I know how bad they feel when they're criticized. I attended the funeral of the mother of the Speaker of the National Assembly, and one of the governors stood up there and said, well, stop abducting our children. The leader of majority was incensed, the Prime CS was incensed, the Speaker himself was incensed, the President himself was almost using unpalatable terms in annoyance because of that simple criticism. Yet it is a fact that Kenyans are being abducted. Now let me say this finally, even if the state is not abducting the children, then the state has failed us, so they should resign.
Okay. Yes, Honorable Gladys.
Yes, I think I've said my piece on this issue of abductions. I say abductions is illegal, it is wrong. I sympathize with the families whose persons have been abducted, but the only way we can help is to ensure that we support the investigations, then we can know what to do about it. It's just making statements that people have been abducted is not going to help us. It will just become a story that will be on the headlines, but will not get to the bottom of it. So I think as responsible citizens, we must all marshal forces to help each other. Yeah. And that is why I'm very happy about what the Kenya National Human Rights Commission and the Law Society have done. They've done the right thing. They've gone and they've reported the missing persons. They have then moved the court. The court has given orders directed at the IG and had asked for an update. And like I said, the update has been given to the court. And the court has said, we want to know that one person who's still missing. So for each person who's missing, we must report them.
Okay.
I love another thing we can do.
Let me finish. I'll come to you. So, but Honorable Gladys, then, what does the government know about abduction or the abductions in the country?
That's what I'm saying. The way to know what the police know about it, like I said, I am following what is...
Due process.
Yes, the due process. Okay. That is how you get to the bottom of it. And then you cannot also talk about abductions blanket form. Maria Sarungi.
Yeah, the Tanzanian.
The Tanzanian, yes, has now been found. And when she comes forth, it is what her statements that she will make, what she will say she knows, and other further investigations that will tell us to get to the bottom of it, so that we know who is involved in these abductions. But it has to be on a case-by-case basis. So we encourage Kenyans to report missing persons. That is the way we can get to the bottom of it. It's no good to make a press statement about it or speak generally about it. But any Kenyan who somebody in your family is missing, please report it. Okay. Also, you help with investigations, like investigating a murder. When a murder happens, the only way you get to the bottom of it, all the people who are around the person are interrogated, the people who live with the person are interrogated, the last person if the person had been to a restaurant, all the waiters are interrogated and give statements. Okay. That is the way we investigate all crimes, not just abductions. Yeah, whether it's murder, whether it's assault, that is the way you investigate it.
And Honorable Gladys, then, why is the seriousness in the level of our investigations? Leslie Mutori recorded statements in June last year. What has been happening for the past 6 months?
I did not know that he had actually made a report on that investigation.
Okay.
And if he has made the report, then investigation must be ongoing. So what we should be demanding...
For 6 months without answers?
No, I'm just saying, now that you've told me that investigations have been made, what you should be doing even as the media is going to the police station where he made his statement. We should be asking that particular police station where he reported to give us a report on their investigations.
Okay, he did record this. And one final question on her. I'll come to KJ and then Senator. We have some 18 minutes. Still have some time. And Honorable Shole, because it seems we are in an echo chamber where a lot of statements are made in silos. I mean, the confusion around this entire critical talk about abductions. Then what did the president know when he said he will end abductions in the country?
He said that his government does not condone abductions of Kenyans. It's an illegality. That was his statement, and he's disassociated himself from it. And that is why I'm saying is that is why, in fact, right now, what we should be asking as Kenyans is for the Inspector General of Police to give us statistics on the number of missing persons across the country that have been reported to the various police stations. And then to see
he gave that before Parliament. 59 is the number last year.
Last year, yes. And I'm saying, as we are saying that there is an increased number, we should be asking that now. And I think it's one of the issues that in the particular court case that I'm following up is one of the issues that has been raised, is that let's know how many missing persons.
As you follow up on that court case, the matter of the 7 Kenyans, 6 now released, would you also mind being the woman MP for the president coming from Uasin Gishu County to pick up with him as to the commitment he made, as to what he knows about these abductions and the pledge he made, and to what extent this has been fulfilled?
I think for me, like I said, the reason why we have structures and institutions and independent institutions within the country is that they are responsible. I have access to the Inspector General of Police, and I can ask that question. I have access to Law Society that is pushing this issue. I think that is something that is squarely in the hands of the Inspector General. I don't think it's something that I would ask the President. Because even if you ask the President is going to summon the Inspector General to give him a report. Yes. So I think sometimes it is important that we direct. When there is a problem, direct it to the relevant institution. And
those institutions, for example, just on a matter of one case, Leslie Mutura have been silent for 6 months. They're telling him to his father.
No, now that you've told me that, I'm going to ask, actually, that what has been the result of the investigation so far after he gave his statement.
Yes, Honorable Kejal.
One of the easiest ways for the offenders, because this is an atrocity, one of the easiest way for these offenders to get away with murder, literally, is for us as a nation to keep layering and layering and layering of our problem. Think about it. There's a point that we cannot run away from. What the Honorable Gladys Bos-Sholei has said, that in the matter of abductions, the easiest approach would be to seek out what are these cases, and then be able to comb out each case, case by case. And we have enough institutions that are able to do that. But the moment we take the path of sensationalization, what will happen is that the whole issue will end up being a good topic for politicians on the platform. It will make for beautiful headlines. It will sell newspapers. But ultimately, all we have done is that the politician has gotten their bonga points because they got some points they could say in a rally and excite the people. They've made headlines. The newspaper has sold. But that has not answered the question that Honorable Mbui asked. What is being done to alleviate this problem? Because these are actual individuals. These are actual families. And
I'm inviting Honorable Mbui and Honorable Onyonka to follow those proceedings.
And why
because we'll get to the bottom of it that way.
Why I say case by case is because, yes, there are issues that could be pointing a finger at the police. In the same breath, there are people who have been reported and sensationalized online for a whole weekend, only to turn up that they had traveled to a different county or a different town to go and see a boyfriend or a girlfriend, which is also a fact. But the point I wanted to make was beyond that.
What is factual about that? Yeah? What is factual about traveling to see their boyfriends or girlfriends?
But they had been reported as missing.
Who?
And we had even cases where we had people who were even sensationalized on social media that this is a massive missing person, and it was mistaken to be a case of abduction.
What is the?
And you even reported.
What is the example?
Media. Well, there is a lady who disappeared for an entire weekend, and it turned out that they had gone to see a boyfriend in a city that was different from where they live.
Is that what she recorded with the DCI?
Is what is that? I have no idea what she has reported.
So why are you pointing that out as an example?
Okay, let's give the example of Maria Sarungi, because it is on your headlines today. When she appeared, Honorable Sholei is saying that she should also offer more information about what happened.
Yesterday.
But the initial information she gave, and I'm not an investigator, she was saying, to her mind, she suspects that it might not have been a police abduction. Why? To her mind, she was saying, when we would approach anywhere they would suspect would be a police barrier or something, they would divert from it. They were really avoiding these police checks. But I wasn't coming in on that. I was coming on us layering the problem to a point where we cannot even get to the root issue, because we have placed so many layers on it.
Because you're also giving misleading examples which are not factual.
This is a real factual example. Maria Sarungi did say she does suspect that this could not have been police, because they were avoiding where they could end up encountering the national police when they were doing. It is a reported matter, and it is there. But the issue was about responsibilities. The Honorable Mbui did take offense on the Deputy Speaker, saying that she wears different roles. it is true in life that everyone has to wear a different role. Ayub, you are an individual who happens to be a journalist in a certain newsroom. You do have social media handles. At what point on your posts am I able to separate that this is Ayub tweeting, and this is Ayub the journalist tweeting, or this is Ayub the believer tweeting, or this is everybody? Is more than one definition.
Job in the Bible.
It's everybody.
You can use me as an example. I've served in all three arms of government.
So when
and even now, as a deputy speaker, I'm also an officer of the court. I'm a lawyer.
Well, we just ran away from that title a short while ago.
But I was talking about this.
For the purpose you were speaking.
Allow me to land this plane.
Okay, yes.
Allow me to land this plane. How I wanted to end this is by saying that the issue of responsibilities cuts across. Even to imagine that the Honorable Mbui is not a member of government is a fallacy. This is an individual who holds a government position in parliament. He's drawing salaries out of the government.
And has vehicles.
And even drawing parks. So even as we speak about government, we've got to remember this choice that we made to be in a democracy allows me to authoritatively say that Abdi Kadir is a member of the government, because the republic as defined by Plato is this organization where each and every member of a society decides, I as the public will not appear on that table, but I will elect Senator Onyonka to appear before me. And let me make this point on responsibility, so that if I am responsible, I will ask myself, all those things that I'm asking everybody else to do, am I doing them myself? Is the situation in Kisii County perfect? Do we have a situation that is not being oversighted well by the Senator of Kisii to an extent that Kisii is losing out on certain opportunities, maybe because and this is not a good example because this is a senator who does not sleep on the job. He does not sleep on the job.
Yes.
But would the people of Kisii be losing value in electing their senator because maybe their senator is over-engaged in the sensationalization or sensational politics, while he would have been checking on the government in the responsibility that he has been assigned by the people?
Thank you, sir. I have agonizedly listened to my brother KJ, and I'm shocked where to start. First of all, there's this narrative I've had my two colleagues trying to insinuate that every time we come here, KJ, I am not trying to get sensationalization. I am not trying to make my name better or worse than it is. Kisii is not suffering because so far, luckily, my governor hasn't abducted anybody. When he wanted to start that nonsense, I stopped him. The way I'm stopping your government, which is my government. I am in this role particularly to come and tell you that what you've been saying here, and it has nothing to do with that tangential arguments you're always making. Oh, you know, Mbui and Onyonka, all the opposition, they just want TikToks. People are dying. People are being taken out of their houses. We have a national intelligence system, which is closer to being the best nearly in our East and Central Africa. We have the DC High. We have some of the government officers that will tell you, I can see that one, it quacks like a duck. I can look at that one, it looks like a pig. That's what they've gone to school with. If you sit with them, they will tell you quietly, stop this nonsense. Otherwise, your country is headed the wrong direction. When my colleagues are sitting here and saying how, and painfully for me, it's really, really painful to sit here and say that, oh, you know what you do? Yes, please go and report these losses you're having of these individuals who, in fact, we don't even know whether they've been abducted because they wanted to see their boyfriends or girlfriends, who then, KJ's president, who's my president, announces and says, I'll stop the abductions. Who then my party leader, Raila Odinga, says, this is what is going to lead the country into a direction we cannot manage it. We have examples in Latin America. We have examples in other countries that have failed states and banana republics. These are symptoms of the problem that our country is broken down. What we should be discussing here is not defending government, demonizing the police or anybody, is to say, are we sure we understand, my brother KJ, where we are?
I would agree with you on that.
Do we understand that the country that we have got,
beyond the
because of our politics, and that is the politics of deceit, politics of not saying the truth, and politics of demonization, that you are taking youths who exist in this country, who initially were actually venting their opinion and telling the state, that there is something wrong about the way you are managing our country. Ayub, the reason why some of us come to this studio of yours and say what we saw is very simple. KJ, you may not know this, but you'll remember because we were neighbors in the neighborhoods where children of the dynasties live.
In Dagoretti.
If today, KJ, the president in 1982 was William Ruto, and the person who was acting subversion activities was Raila. If today, Musalia Mudavadi, who was arrested with in 1982 because we are subverting the republic, Moi had mercy enough to leave us to survive. That is why some of us are willing to come and say these things here. Moi had a heart. Even when we considered him to be the worst dictator in Africa, he had a human heart. He was willing to say, these were stupid boys who are playing around. So you know, KJ, my father was a minister. You know we were saying ministers should go. We were saying Moi must go. All of us would have been hanged. And that would be my footnote. So what we are telling you is this. What is happening now with these youths, it's not that it did not happen before. It is just that the presidents who were serving during that time, whether it was Kibaki, whether it was President Moi, those presidents looked at the critical issues of our country, and they are willing not to stop the youth and to kill all the youth because they were against them.
Okay,
allow me.
But a number of Kenyans were killed under President Moi's government on the...
Absolutely. Yes. The point I'm making is this. Many people, out of the students who are in the University of Nairobi, 127 of us, I can tell you, 2 died because of health conditions we had in prison. The rest, Moi had a heart. Moi told us when we left the prison, he said, if that can't be a lesson on how you take care of your country, it's your business.
Ayub, and allow me not to divert too much into a history that only myself and Richard share, but it is true. When Dagoretti was a larger Dagoretti, at some point, his father, then a minister, and my dad serving the people, ended up being neighbors at some place. And so the issue of abduction could be personal, even to some of us. Some of us have suffered political violence. We've suffered indignity.
Your father was detained.
Having our dads picked up and locked up for times we couldn't, growing up knowing that anytime they would come for your father and he's not available, they might take up any of the sons and disappear with him until they produce. But that is not the point that I made, and that's not the trajectory that I'd wanted Richard to run on. It was a point on responsibilities. My question was, if we as a country had a dialogue on whether each of us is carrying their own responsibility, then we would start addressing the core issues, not the symptoms. At the moment, the core issue in this country is actually the economy of this country. It is the last discussion we are having anywhere on a national discourse. If we had a discussion about responsibilities as it relates to economies, then we would be asking, yes, Senator Onyonka, you might have done very well in Kisii, but there is a reason why you're a senator sitting at the parliament, because there is a national concern regarding counties. For example, Ayub, we created, we ascended to a constitution that allowed us to have 48 governments. Is anyone 15 years down the line asking ourselves whether this is a viable option, whether this is a growing concern, when we have counties that instead of even being a growing concern on themselves, whereby they should even be contributing to national revenue, their business has for the last 15 years been drawing coffers from the central government, none of them reporting as to why they cannot be able to collect revenues, because then it means that whatever we are seeing in national government has been replicated down to the counties, whereby you will find a county, and I will not name names, where you find 330 million in a year has been allocated to recurrent expenditure and 0 to development, meaning that all the counties are doing is carrying a wage bill and contributing almost nothing to the national kitty. Now that starts speaking to responsibility.
Thank you.
If the responsibility comes to give a solution, I've got to ask myself as KJ whether I am doing what I need to do. But you as a gatekeeper, Ayub, the responsibility is greater.
Okay.
But even if you host a conversation like this, it better be a conversation that takes this country forward, because beyond the lamentations, we must start offering solutions.
All right.
Because they won't come anywhere else. And they will have to come from Kenya.
Okay, and
the solutions,
as we speak
today, the country is suffering from an economic situation that has to be resolved.
Thank you.
And if our discussion now diverts from that to sensationalization, then we also know.
Well, I think, to be fair to you, Honorable KJ, as I sampled the feedback, our discussion was largely on lives. And there can be no education without lives. There can be no country without people. And therefore, the sanctity of human life. My Quran says, as a Muslim, I'm advised that I should not encourage killing. Killing one soul, the Quran says, is equivalent to wiping out the entire human race. Therefore, we are discussing the lives of Kenyans who are abducted, no questions.
We agreed about that.
And accountability, as Honorable Gladys pointed out, of the answers that many Kenyans are seeking on the whereabouts of their kin. Some still missing, some killed, and some still being traumatized, because we're discussing lives, and it's important that we have such a conversation.
Abdi, we agree.
Can I take a look at the feedback and give you the last round of comments?
Yes, and we will.
Thank you.
But we are all agreed that the sanctity of life is
Let's see the feedback. Thank you. The first one from Bobo Tieno Owino says, reckless remarks by legislators allied to President William Ruto is very dangerous and can burn our country like we experienced in 2007. Bob Jamwa says, truth be told, Kenya is in a precarious situation because of the frivolous utterances of politicians and ending abductions and lack of accountability by the government. Unless something is done, we are heading to the docks. Frank Orinde says, rising cost of living, rampant abductions and political inaction have pushed citizens to the edge. Families struggle to afford basics, insecurity is soaring, and leaders seem to be out of touch. The people are demanding accountability, safety, and real solutions.
I would agree.
Alex Oore says, the problem with President William Ruto's administration is that it's hesitation to listen to the people. They must understand, even if they mean well, they must involve the people in their projects and policies. Without involving the people, it doesn't matter, even if it's good. Owino Mikey says, Gladys Bowes is trying to act smart by avoiding issues related to accountability on national matters. We know she is a foot soldier to William Samoei Ruto and only says what his boss wants to, what her boss wants to be said. She will respond to that. Kivai one says, Kiari is playing that Kamodo character he used to play in The Ridiculous so well. William Samoei Ruto must be so proud.
But I would like to also know what he does for a living, so that I know whether he's playing his role well too.
All right, so that is, okay, thank you. So I'll come to Honorable Onyonka, 30 seconds. Honorable Gladys will respond to that.
Thank you. My sincere and honest request to my colleagues and to Kenyans is that we only have one country. This country is very interesting. We have everything, the capacity, we have the resources and everything. It just needs good people to fix it. I hope that the conversations we have here are conversations which, yes, as my brother Kiaria wants us to discuss how the county governments are stealing billions and billions of shillings, how governors are doing everything. At least for now, I have not had anybody implicate a governor who has abducted anybody. Many of them could have done it. I think if the government had not, for example, like in areas we come from where we really engage the government and said, don't allow goons to continue. My honest observation, this is a diversion. It's a diversion from the realities of our country. That even when I want to listen to the people in the President's Party, in the KK Alliance, when they're trying to ask us to be sympathetic and understand, what I want to request my colleagues is that please give me something I can talk about that is positive. Give me something. I mean, if you run through the newspaper today, Ministry of Health has a problem. Education class 9 classrooms don't exist. Badi said the other day, we have borrowed, we are going to hit, I think, 14 trillion shillings in the next 6 months. We are in a situation where kids are being abducted, and here we sit, and we don't know whether it's the police that is responsible or whether it's the executive as a whole. My colleagues are telling me, no, be patient. There are parents who don't have their children who have been dead the last 6 months, last 1 year. This country has to reconcile with itself.
Thank you.
Yes.
Honorable Mbui.
Yeah, I think I want to offer a simple solution. One thing we should all do is condemn, in the strongest terms possible, the abductions and killing of our youth who are our future. And at the same time, I think it's also important to also condemn those people who are condemning us for condemning the abductions. Because you saw that when C.S. Muturi said the son was abducted, there are even members of parliament who said they are going to bring an impeachment motion in parliament so that we can impeach him for speaking for the rights of the people. And finally, you know what? The risk we are facing as a country because of these abductions is lawlessness. And you've seen what happened just about a day or two ago when I think police officers attempted to arrest someone in the streets of Nakuru, and the public, completely refused. In fact, that person was in handcuffs. They had to remove the handcuffs and run for dear life. So what the government is doing is putting us in a situation where the country will go to the dogs.
Okay, Honorable Gladys, and there was a question for you.
What was the question?
As to whether you serve the president or the people.
Yes, that is my party leader and my president. But when the way to help and support a government is not to just by criticizing. It can be also by making sure that we ensure that the structures that exist in our constitution are functional. And that's why I'm saying this stops at the doorstep of the Inspector General of Police. I have done my very best as a citizen, yes, to follow this up and to ensure that we use the right channels so that it is not sufficient for us to speak about it on national television. We must be able to ensure that we are supporting the investigative arms. Honorable Onyonka has said that he has gory details, that he was informed by C.S. Muturi about the abduction of his son. How I wish he could go and report that to the police station. Because that is the only way.
Justin has already said it.
Okay.
Yes.
He has already said it.
Yes. So that is the way we can be able to change our country.
Thank you.
Changing our country is doing something. I don't ever say, what have you done? You should do something. I ask myself, what am I doing as a responsible citizen?
All right.
And if each and every one of us took their steps to do something, we will change the country. And I want to say categorically, the fact that I'm explaining the methodology of investigating these abductions does not mean that I condone the abductions.
All right.
I abhor abductions.
Thank you.
It is contrary to the law, and it is not something that should happen in a modern democracy.
Thank you. And
so you have attempted to twist the fact that I'm explaining to you the court process that is ongoing to try and say that I'm condoning abductions. That is not true at all. That's a falsehood.
You condemn?
In fact, I condemn abductions. I don't agree with it, and that is why I am part of this particular court case.
All right.
Yes, so I am doing something, and I call upon everybody who has somebody who is missing to please report it. We shall ensure ourselves that the Inspector General gives us statistics of where these people are, and like I said, I have clearly said that in the case that I am participating in, 6 out of the 7 have come up. And we have not ended the case there. We have said, even if they have been found, we want them to help us to know where they were.
Thank you.
Honorable Abdikadir, it is to say, because you are coming to me, it's to say to Honorable Mbui, first, nobody has a monopoly to condemnation. I myself would condemn any abduction, any loss of life. I would condemn it. In the same way that the opposition would want to own up to the condemnation, they should also own up to the building of the country and taking up responsibility in doing that which would help build the country. Give me something positive to talk about. Honorable Onyonka, are we where we were in 2022? Remember, the campaign in 2022 was about 2 things, purely. It was about the unity of the country, and it was about the economy. Are we more inclusive today as a country than we were in 2022? Yes. The answer is demonstrably yes. The economy, is our inflation rate at its lowest in 18 years. That the numbers we are seeing, we last saw them in the Kibaki years. 2.7% inflation rate. The cost of fuel has been going down every single waking day.
And we have not defaulted on our loans.
We are not hearing any news saying if the oil rises by a shilling,
we were not talking about...
But the truth be told, we were talking about
let him make his point. Finish up.
My point on the freedoms is that we know the nature of freedom. Freedom operates within certain parameters. That is why we have very few absolute freedoms and very many limited freedoms.
All right.
So that your freedom only ends where my freedom starts.
Thank you.
So you
I
don't
cannot
take, you
be-
don't take me to court.
Yes,
Okay,
you, no,
so
no,
just-
Yeah,
okay,
that's what you're
that you
saying.
cannot-
Okay,
you
point
say
back, order.
The only
Honorable KJ.
establishment of that freedom is
Honorable
the court
KJ.
of law.
No, no, yes.
So you are asking
okay.
me, go and dump
Okay.
me because my
Honorable
freedom.
Nyonka, let's have some order.
That's what is-
We are out of time.
Misinterpret.
Okay, okay.
We all have been
Okay,
here
thank you.
on panel.
Thank you, Honorable KJ.
Honorable Nyonka,
Okay.
we have been here arguing about the due
Because
process.
I've
thank
overextended
you.
my
And
freedom.
that's a wrong
Much
example.
appreciated.
Take me to court.
Much
That's
appreciated.
Take me to court.
Point made.
Take me
KJ,
to
KJ,
court.
order. Order. Honorable Nyonka. Some silence. Some silence. Some silence. Some silence. Silence. It's order. You have made your point. 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 All of you have made your points. Order. Senator Richard Onyonka is the senator Kisii County. Honorable KJ. Some silence. Okay.
I explained why
Okay.
your freedom and
Thank you.
mine begin.
Let the court